Hi, welcome to my review, the fantasy review channel for A Darker Shade of Magic by the Schwab. So how did I get into this book? I was looking at various top 10 fantasy reviews, and I kept noticing there was one book that was on all of them. Well, not all of them, on most of them. This one kept appearing on various people's top 10s, so I thought, okay, all these really good reviewers seem to think it's pretty good, so I should read it. So I grabbed the copy. I also liked it because it was a trilogy, and I thought that's good if I get into it, I can keep reading it, read the whole lot. So I did, and that's how I came to read it. Now, what's it about? It's the story of Kel. It's the story of three Londons. So there's three parallel Londons. Grey London, which is like ours, but in the 1800s. Red London, where there's lots of magic. And White London, when there's a little bit of magic. And the Londons are different. They have these varying levels of magic. Only one of them, Grey London, has England. The rest have different countries, although the cities are all called London. And it's sort of based on this parallel world element. A bit like the show, TV show Counterpart, which has Berlin instead of London. Or the fantasy parallel worlds in his Dark Materials, the Philip Pullman series. So the central character is Kel. He's what's called an Antari, which is a magician in the world, and he's one of the few people that can travel between the world because he's a magician. So he's central to the plot. Nominally, he's an ambassador. That's why he travels between the worlds. But the reality is he's actually a smuggler, and he smuggles, mysterious objects, which is the premise and the mystery and the danger element of the story. So what did I like about it? V. Schwab'S writing is great. It's simple. It's not overly wordy. She defines her characters well, makes them believable. It's not over the top, so I thought it was pretty grounded. I mean, it's a fantasy book, so it has magic and action, killing each other and whatnot. But I still found it fairly grounded compared to other books. So for all those reasons, I found it quite commendable. The character of Kel is really good. So I found him quite unique. He's royalty, but he's not, the top royalty. He's in this in-between world. He's not incredibly powerful. He's witty, capable, smart. I liked his relationship with his brother Ree. So lots of things about his character that I liked. I also like the other character, Delilah Bard, also known as Lila. She's a great character. She's from the dark side of the city. She's a pirate and a thief. She's handy with a knife. She's comfortable in the underworld. So I found she was a good counterpart to Kel. And together as the two main characters, I thought they worked quite well together. And if you've got two main characters that are strong, that's the great basis for a story, and will carry a story a long way. I really like the concept of three Londons, how they're parallel universes, and the characters move between them. I thought that was great. That involves royal intrigue, a touch of espionage. So in that world, that situation, the world is pretty interesting, and I thought quite a sort of unique premise. The magic system is great. It's quite detailed. I really liked it. It felt real and felt it could exist. And the basis of any good fantasy story is, I think, a realistic magic system really helps a good fantasy story. I also like the royal family setup. Kel's involved in the royal family, but he's not a stereotypical dashing prince, or he's not a heroic noble. He's in the royal family, but he's not in the ideal spot. I won't reveal too much. And I liked that really angle. I thought that was quite original. What I didn't like the storyline that much. It wasn't anything really amazing that grabbed me. It wasn't anything revolutionary, original. The villain as part of the story didn't really challenge me. So overall, the plot wasn't that fast and wasn't that fast moving, I think. Didn't really push me along and have me wanting to read it every minute. I wouldn't call it, like a page turner. But some people don't mind that. I think some people really like the characters in it and like the fact that the characters are so good. So the fact that the storyline maybe wasn't that sharp and um, vibrant and lively didn't bother them. So maybe it depends on what you like in a book. The other thing I didn't like was maybe the development of the three Londons. I like the concept of them, but as worlds, they weren't that developed. So there's not a lot of depth and they're not really discussed in a high level of detail. To me, that meant I couldn't imagine them that well. Um, yeah, possibly that's because she has the three Londons, so Schwab can't spend a lot of time um, explaining their worlds and doing world explanation in it because there's three different settings, and maybe that would churn up too much of the book. So maybe she wanted to get straight into the characters and the plot, and not spend a lot of time in world explanation. So there were two main issues. The last issue was the technology level. I was a little bit confused about that. They're mainly talking about knives and swords, and, wooden ships that get set on fire. But then someone picks up a shotgun, and I'm like, okay, what technology level is this? If they have a shotgun, why don't they all have shotguns? So I was a bit confused about that, and it also stopped me from imagining the world. I had problems sort of placing it in its technology level, so I'm not quite sure what that was. Anyway, overall, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5, mainly because the hype was really built up for me, and it didn't quite live up to the hype. But I would still recommend you read it, because a lot of people are reading it and think it's great, and it could just be me that I don't like it for some reason, and you might really like it. So yeah, that's basically my review for A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab on the Fantasy Review channel.